Welcome, welcome, welcome. You're listening to the Ask Brien radio show on KHTS 1220 and 98.1 FM. Listening to the Ask Brien radio show every single Thursday. 7.5 years. Wow. That's a long, long time. Well, we've been doing this show and we talk about business every single week. We either have somebody that can teach us something about business or the or if he can't teach you something about business, we'll teach you somebody who went from 0 to 75 miles an hour really, really quick. But everybody wants to know why we spell Brien with an E. We're not Irish. We're not O'Briens. And I know that our guest is actually not that far from Ireland, but that's not why we spell Brien with an E. We spell Brien with an E because our resident expert in E's, Tracy, are you there?
I am here, and of course, you know me, I will claim a resident expert in anything if I can, but I will,
That was
But
way too
speaking
much
of-
applause.
but, well, you know, it was a little premature because the true resident expert in everything is our engineer, so we need a double applause for that, Jen.
I thought we were spelling it with an E because our guest is from England with an E.
Well, our guest is from England, and we have a lot of empathy. I'm going to go out of order today. We have a lot of empathy for our guest today because it's actually 9 p.m. in his time zone, but he is such an expert that we are super grateful that he enthusiastically wanted to be on our show, that he would do this live at 9 p.m. in England. So we'll get more details on that later.
Well, I have anti-empathy here because he's from England, and next week is July 4th, America's birthday. And what happened? We kicked the England. What happened to them?
Oh my gosh!
Out of here! Out of here!
Okay, no. There's no E in history, and so we are not going down that. Okay, so let's get this train back on the tracks. When it comes to experts, which we have a fabulous one today, it is all about the education. And an expert, of course, has to, by our definition anyway, have invested a minimum of 10,000 hours in their business, industry, niche, or category. And to do that, we're looking at, the average math of 40 hours a week, 50-ish weeks a year. That would take the average person roughly about 5 years. But everybody knows, and you said it yourself, 7.5 years of doing this show, we know that very few of our experts ever worked a 40-hour work week. That is more of an employee mindset than an entrepreneur mindset for sure. So as you're growing and scaling your business, we're thinking it's probably closer to a 3-year window. And the other thing about expertise that's really important is staying on top of trends. And our expert today is going to really be able to provide some really good insight on his expertise around SEO. But before we go there, we'll go here, which is we are definitely very enthusiastic about this topic because the big old AI monster's creeping in everywhere these days, and we're going to learn more about that. And for that, are you as enthusiastic about this conversation as I am, Peter?
I am excited! And don't forget, SEO, don't forget there's an E in SEO.
Yes, there is an E in SEO, and that's extraordinary. And it also is about about the education, which we are very focused on for the Ask Brien show. And I think we need to strap in for some really good education today. And for that, I am excited. And I think, outside of my favorite E, we should probably just get to the point.
Well, we don't know what the point is, but we do know that SEO will point you to get your website ranked. And without any further ado, ADIEU, we're going to bring on our guest from bloody England. Are you there, chap?
Hello.
All
How's
right.
everyone tonight?
Well, amazingly, you survived, and you actually said, Whatever, I can handle this. And so you are a survivor. That doesn't begin with an E. But the first question, you have been on the show before, and we are going to go over the basics of SEO. But before we get into the basics, we're going to take a change of direction. We don't usually start out this way, but we want to know, because you were on our show approximately 10 months ago, I want to understand, so in the last 12 months, what has Google done to change SEO?
So Google does update every day, about 200 updates, but this year they did an absolute massive one that's kind of turned a lot around. And they've really focused on the AI, making sure that spam content is really out of the window. And it is causing a lot of sites, big publishing websites were really affected by this, and they moved down on the rankings and they lost sight, and websites that really relied on churning out content using AI content generators are being thrown out, but they're also focusing on things such as affiliate marketing and adverts, and that's really affecting other businesses. And this is where, people are going to have to make changes to their website in order to rank highly still.
So basically, publishing was, did they get demerits? I mean, what happened to publishing? What did they do? They just didn't put them as high on the ranking, or what?
So what they've done is that these publishers, they've had either a lot of very short articles or articles which were written by AI, or they were using what Google felt was negative user experiences, which were things like adverts, push notifications, affiliate marketing, things like that. And those websites basically were told, no, the user doesn't want that, so we're going to rank you down. And anyone that was using AI was affected by up to about 40%, and the affiliate marketing and the adverts were affected by something very similar, but I can't remember the exact number. But there was also other features like the push notifications, which is that little box at the top which says, would you like us to send you information when we've got an update? Google decided it doesn't like that, even though it's really good for marketing, because you want people to come back to your website. Google has said, no, that's not good for us. So these websites have been pushed down, so they're no longer on the front page. They could be on the second or third page now, and that can really reduce your traffic. If you're up on the top 3, you're going to get about 70% of the search traffic going to you. But if you go onto that second or third page, you're down to just 1%, and that's a massive amount of loss of traffic, especially if you're relying on affiliate marketing income and advertising revenue.
Well, they say whatever comes up, something else goes down, right? So something went down. So if you're being pushed down the page, who got pushed up the page?
Right. So this is where it's very, very interesting. And Google is now rewarding people who are hitting a few key marks. So you've got to look at your first 1,000 words on the page. And what Google is looking for is for you to say why you're experienced, why you're an expert at what you're promoting. So say you're promoting that you can bake bread. You've got to say in that first 1,000 words how many years you've been doing it, why you're, the awards that you've done, just points which Google can pick up and say, yes, they're the expert, because they want the best at the top. They want the experts, they want the experience, they want the ones that are getting all the good reviews. And so that's one of the first things, is that all the websites that were pushed up were selling their expertise, they were selling their experience, and they weren't doing it in our company, like a bakery is the best and thing. It was using a lot of the I words, we are, I am the best. So it's all kind of that new personality. Your brand is a person, you've got personality, and that's what Google's looking for. In addition, they were looking for a couple of extra little things like contact information. Google wants people to be able to read your website and be able to contact you. So if you've got contact information in the footer and somewhere else on your page, you did better this time round.
Well, actually, it sounds like they were all gearing towards Ask Brien, because what does Ask Brien have? Experts, experience. Wow, I didn't even realize that until today, but I guess Google is behind Ask Brien. All right. Now, so how can people write SEO articles now to get to the top page now that they've switched these things around? what would you do differently? I mean, what is it, 1,000 words and create an expertise, and that's enough? I mean, what do you need to? What do you think is the best practices?
So it's all about, when I was last time, I was talking about key metrics, using that keyword so many times within a page, and that's still not changed. Although Google has limited some of the effects of keywords and also inbound links now that they're not taking them as important, they're starting to slide down that priority list. You've still got to get those keywords in, because that is how Google is going to identify your website. So if you're a bakery, you need to work bakery, or you need to use your product, something that the user is going to be searching for. But at the same time, you still need to be writing that 1,000 plus words. Now, I said it was the first 1,000 words, and that's an important thing to kind of remember, because AI articles are usually between 800 to 1,000 words. So that is kind of the focal point, which Google is kind of sitting there and saying, well, these articles are more than likely AI, so we're going to scrutinize them more. So what I'm trying to tell clients and people who are writing is, if you want to write less than 1,000 words, stick to below 800 words. But if you really want to get to the high ranking of Google, you really need to be doing more than 1,000 words more often. Of course, smaller articles are also good to have in the mix as well, so don't think you have to always write over 1,000 words. And ideally, the average top ranking article is about 1,200 plus words, and that's something to remember. But also, you need to be adding in a few extra things in there. So you need to be adding in images. Now, one of the important things is that Google is now sitting there saying stock images are out. You can't just go onto Pixabay or any of the other image sites that you want to use and grab an image off there and stick that on. Google doesn't like that. It recognises them. It says it's almost like they're being treated like duplicate content now. You've got to have your own images. And if you have video, your articles are going to rank higher. And that's the same with your homepage and any service pages you have. If you've got video on there, it's going to do better. If you've got stock image, you're going to be knocked down.
Now, the videos can they be hosted on companies like YouTube and Vimeo, or does it matter where it's hosted? Does it have any effect?
So it's always best to host your videos on a third-party platform like YouTube or Vimeo, because what happens is that if you host it on your platform, and this goes for a lot of small businesses, you have maybe a VPS or a small little server, that video is going to take up a lot of bandwidth, which will slow down your website, and the slow website equals to poor SEO, which will result in your page being moved down. But if you have it on YouTube or Vimeo, it doesn't grab it from your server. It grabs it only when required off the platform that you're using to host that video. And what you might need to do is, if you're on a WordPress website or other websites, is use those which don't have the YouTube kind of logo on it. You can strip that out with some plugins and make it look really attractive, like there's nothing else there. But that's the best way, to have it on that third-party platform rather than have it directly on your website.
As far as speed loading on pages, I know that's an effect or one of the elements on SEO. How much does that count? 2%, 5%, 10, 20?
Google doesn't really give the exact details of what's required. Google keeps it very much kind of secret, because they don't want to tell everyone. If they tell everyone what's going to get them to rank, everyone's going to do it, and then it's a free-for-all. So what we do is that we do a lot of testing, and we have these little markers, and there's about 200 different factors which have been identified which have an influence. But what you've got to try to do is look along this list and try to hit every single point as much as you can, because we don't know the exact effect, because it's impossible to do them all. You know, there are some businesses that are going to need affiliate marketing or are going to need ads on their website, because that's how they survive. But what you need to do is that you go, okay, well, I've got to have this element, which I know is going to mark me down. But what I need to do then is look at some of the other elements, like the stock imagery. Well, that goes out the window, and I go and grab a graphic designer, or I'll go and grab a camera, and I'll go and take photos myself and get that on there. Or I won't use push notifications. I'll go back to email marketing, which is very effective. Email marketing is the most effective digital marketing channel. And that's what you've got to do, is that is not look at the percentage, but look at what you can do for your website to make sure it gets there better. But always remember that the key line is content is king.
So how does Google know that it's a stock photo?
Sorry?
How does Google know that it's a stock photo?
Google can actually do a search. You can do a Google search yourself. You can actually drag any image into the Google search thingy, and it can find that image on the web. So it has this kind of library which it can go, right, okay, well, that image appears on this website, this website, this website. And it probably will find that the stock image, because those will be indexed as well. So it will find those stock images just basically because it's indexing the whole web, the whole internet. And that's one of the key problems with it. So the only way, even if you use an image editor and you manipulate that image slightly, Google will probably be able to identify it unless you did a major change, which if you're doing major changes, you might as well have gone and done the image yourself because it would take too much time to do it.
So you're probably better off just taking live pictures, right?
So you can go around, you can take your own pictures, you can get a graphic designer. You know, you can go online onto places like Upwork and Fiverr, and you can contact graphic designers there who will design these images for you. But try to avoid using, and I know we're going to talk about AI in a bit, but try to avoid using AI-generated images, because one of the things that is coming out is that some AI content, although it's new to you, the AI, if you give the computer the same instructions as someone else, it will probably generate the same image. And that's the problem, is that some people might be putting in, give me an image of a desk, and it gives the same image as the desk as someone else. And then it becomes duplicate content. Now, it's a little bit of a basic kind of concept, a basic kind of way of describing it, but that is a possibility, and especially with writing, that can happen quite frequently.
How does Google know that you're using AI?
Well, the problem with AI is that it's only really effective as much as its program allows. And the way that humans talk and the way that humans write, it's very unique. And computers can't really replicate that very effectively at the moment. So there's a lot of kind of signals that say this is what a computer's written. So some of the signals could be the text is very stilted. It sounds like a robot's just said a few sentences. Another one is contradictory phrases. So it's say a phrase like, it's raining outside, and then the next line it says, it's dry outside. And that has happened. I've seen that happen. I've seen an AI piece of article come up with one thing, and then in the next sentence it's saying the complete opposite. And Google can spot these, and there are AI detectors which you can get. You can even use them for free, and it details which lines don't sound right. And Google has an even better system than that, which it's kept on its own. It doesn't allow anyone else to use it. So it can detect those AI written articles and that AI imagery.
Tracy, you had some questions. You said I've been taking the entire interview and you wanted to ask some really serious questions.
Well, David, we were talking of the break about so many different opportunities to go with this conversation, and I think the most important thing is that there's so much overwhelm when it comes to SEO. So we've talked a lot about what has shifted and how AI has played a role in that, but let's get back to the basics. If you're a small business owner and you have a website and you're managing it on its own, or you have a team member that's helping support that, where's the best place to start with just increasing your optimization and getting forward movement on those Google pages? Like, let's just get down to, like, what's the easiest and best first steps for people when it comes to SEO?
So when I look at a website for the first time, what I'm looking at is the keywords on the page. So every page needs to have one main keyword. So this is the keyword that you really want that page to show up at the top of Google for. Now, what a lot of business owners do, especially small business owners who aren't used to the SEO environment or aren't used to the business environment, is that they use a keyword which they think is going to be used, but perhaps the user or their main customer or audience isn't using themselves. So what you need to do is that you need to find a good SEO keyword tool, and there are some free ones. You've got Ahrefs, you've got Ubersuggest. You've got some of these which allow you to, and Google Keyword Planner can also help. And these are keyword tools that tell you how many times a month this keyword is being searched for, what the challenge of ranking for that keyword is. What you want to do is you want to have a look there, see what your customer is using, and then implement that within your website. And you want that to go onto each page. Each page has a meta title, and you want your keyword in there. It has a meta description. You want to use that. Meta description is only 160 characters. Your meta title is only up to 60 characters, between 55 and 60 characters. And then you want to have that keyword in a couple of titles on the page and about 3-4 times mentioned in that 1,000 words, possibly 2,000 words, about maybe 2 and 1,000 words. So it's only got a density of between 1 and 2% of that page. And as soon as you do that, that is going to make a difference to the page. And then you want to also add that keyword into the metadata of any images on there. So you get, on images, you get the title, you get a caption, you get the alt text, and you get a description. And you want to make sure that the keyword is in every single one of those meta titles. And that is what Google is basically searching for. And that's the first thing that any website owner needs to do. And they need to do that individually for each page. You want each page to have a different keyword so they don't compete with each other and hurt each other's rankings.
Wow. So that feels like that could be a big undertaking. And where would people even begin to identify what keywords are right for their business? And can AI tools be an asset for that search or a hindrance?
Well, you can use the tools, like I said, like Ubersuggest and things like that. You can have a look at a competitor's website where you can type in what keywords you think are being used, and you will get a list of the keywords which are being used, and you get the search results. AI can be useful in some respects because there are some AI tools which can do the job a little bit quicker, but you are going to be paying a lot for those. And small businesses don't often have the funds which are needed to kind of pay for that information. And you can get it free. You can do it free online. And that's what I would really suggest. And yes, it is a huge undertaking. You could be spending an hour or two on each page just looking for keywords that you want to use before you even start implementing it. And that's where a lot of businesses kind of fail, because what they do is they do the homepage and it's such an effort to do the homepage. I spent 2 days doing it because I spent the first couple of hours finding the keyword, and then I've gone through, done the text, I've sent that off to an editor, I've done my editing, and I've come back and then I've uploaded it, and then I've done all the images and made sure that's, and they spend 2 days, so they go, I'm not going to do the rest of the website, and they hurt themselves because they haven't carried on. But if you want to rank, you have to put in that time. And that's where it really goes, and using those, knowing where you get those free tools or knowing someone that can do it for you is where it's really important. And you've got to get those keywords right because you've got to get that user mindset. The user mindset is so important because it's not about what you're doing or what you think is the keyword, because I can tell you users don't think the same way.
Well, and you hit on something that I really want to just, first of all, I just want to say, like, I do think it's really important in any kind of scenario as to hire experts when it's affordable, to be able to implement some of these things for you. Because as a business owner, time is our only real true resource resource, right? And so to try to figure all of this out on our own and implement it on our own, it can take us down some really time-suck rabbit holes, if you will. And if you were and then on the flip side of that, also just want to say that that there are good resources out there. But if you were in 60 seconds or less, if you were to identify how to work with an SEO person, what should people look for if they're hiring someone?
I would look for someone who's going to sit down with you on a regular basis and talk through the plans, give you detailed notes on what's going on, and maybe even just be a little bit more kind of transparent of what's going wrong as well as what's going right. So talk about and try to get someone who has as much coverage of the SEO aspect. It's all right to say, I'm an SEO writer, but if they don't know how to optimize the website for speed, or they don't know how to make the changes to the structure to make Google find everything a little bit easier, or they don't know how to manipulate the kind of images to put those meta tags into it, then you're going to have to hire 3 or 4 people. What you really want to do is hire someone that can do everything as much as possible, and for a reasonable price as well.
We're going to take a quick break to hear our sponsor. We'll be right back. You're listening to KHTS 1220 and 98.1 FM, The Ask Brien Show. And our sponsor is Legal Steps.
And it's Legal Steps, spelled with a Z, by the way, LegalStepz.com. So Legal Steps will help you. You're brand new at this, right? You don't know where to begin. You know that you want to start your own business, and you've had this dream for a long time. Well, don't let fear get in your way, because certainly that can stop you from really getting anywhere. You can't be afraid to just kind of jump in there, and you've got the experts at Legal Steps there to help you jump in. Experts, by the way, with over 30 years experience, so you know that you're in good hands. Certainly you can start looking up things. We're talking about, Googling and that kind of thing. You can end up in the wrong place and with misinformation. So when you're on legalsteps.com, you know that you are at the right place for you to be able to begin that journey of owning your own business. Courses are affordable. They're under $150. I think sometimes you think, gosh, this is going to cost me so much money in order to get ahead. This is not. This is really affordable. You can work at your own pace, which I think is huge in this day and age. Everybody is so busy. You have children, you have a spouse, you have a dog, you have a house, you have another job, maybe you're just trying to balance it all, and you don't have the time to stop down to go to a meeting or go to a specific business. You can work at your own pace, pause, rewind. It's a screen on screen, which I really like. I think this is a great piece of technology, if you will. I'm doing the course, and I can see on screen the legal expert and their screen, so I know that I'm answering the questions the right way. Some of this legal stuff can get a little bit confusing, but if you have an expert with you, you're great. You don't have to worry about that. I took the S Corporation course. It took me less than 2 hours. They also offer a course in registering a trademark and how to form an LLC. And the final thing that I think is really great, if you can't do it, if you get to the point where, you know what, this makes no sense to me, this is Greek, I'm totally lost and totally frustrated, the experts at Legal Steps will just do it for you. So really, you don't have anything to lose. So go online, check them out. The website is very easy to navigate. It's super user-friendly. Again, go to Legal Steps, that's LegalStepz.com.
Wow. Thank you very much, Jen.
You bet.
All right. That was our sponsor, Legal Steps, but now we're back to the show to hear about SEO. Wow, I just made it rhyme. All right.
Okay,
it's good
David.
being it's very good to be full of yourself. Go ahead.
And you do it so well.
I take on.
You are the expert.
No, I am the Ted Knight of Mary Tyler Moore.
Very
Oh
true.
my gosh. I don't even know what to say to all that. But
Just agree, Tracy. Just agree.
One thing that I do want to say is that before the break, we were talking about how important it is to hire an expert. And I just want to share that the last time David was on the Ask Brien radio show, that I was able to connect with him afterwards. And for at least like the last 6 months or so, Producer Podcast, my company, has been working with David, and I just want to just give you the absolute praise you deserve, David, because you've done some remarkable things with Producer Podcast in getting us up to where we need to be. And I'm fine if you want to share some of the things that were completely broken that you found and how you fixed them, because you've done amazing work. But I also think it would be kind of like a nice workshop experience, and you're not going to hurt my feelings because I hired you for a reason, because you are the expert. And maybe you could share some of the things that in real time that you identified with our site and how you fix those.
So thank you, Tracy, for the kind words. So what Helen and I, Helen's my partner, and we worked together on it, identified was that you need to get more content out there. And last time we were talking about the number of articles that you need to get out there, and, you know, we said that you need to get, the best results are always 15, but getting something out there regularly. So what we're doing with Producer Podcast is we're getting 3 articles out per week, which has really helped to expand the number of keywords that Producer Podcast has been ranking for, which has been all relevant to the audience. We've also kind of identified that meta titles and meta descriptions. I've spoken to them about beforehand about how, you know, every page needs to have different meta titles and descriptions. So we had to look at each page and we've put those in, and then we've advised on the keywords. So we've worked with your team, Tracy, who have been absolutely fantastic and have worked with us on the content. So each product page and each service and each the home page and everything else like that has had those keywords put in the right places and the right amounts. And what we've seen is that your traffic is growing really high and really quick. And it's also translating into user behaviours, also looking very positive on there as well. We talk about SEO isn't just about getting people through the website door as it is. You know, like you want people, if you've got a physical store, you want them to come through the door. On the website, you want them to come to the website. But at the same time, you don't just want people to come into your store and then just walk out without looking around. And the same with websites. You want them to come to the website and you want them to spend time on the website, and they go down one aisle or one page, and you want them to go down the next one. And that's what SEO is about. It's about bringing in the right people who aren't just going to be, oh, I've just read this article, okay, I'm going to go off. They want to come back and look at another article. And you also want them to come back. And that's one of the things that Google does do, is that if you get them on your page and you get them to engage, then your website's going to be shown more frequently to that user in future. So say, you know, you are running an accountancy store, an accountancy firm, and you're giving advice about the tax season, and someone reads that article and they may read another article, but they don't come and buy from you. Because remember, it can take up to 15 engagements before someone makes a purchase. But what happens is that 3 months down the line, they've got another question. Oh, how do I do my expenses? Can I claim for this on my expense? They type that in. If you've got an article on that, it's more likely to be on the search results higher up, because they've already spent a couple of minutes, it could only be 5 minutes. But because they spent that much time, Google's saying, well, they visited this website, they spent time on this website, so they obviously like this brand, and they put them up more. And that's what we try to do with everything, is that we try to make sure that the user is spending time on there as well, as not just, people coming through the door and then walking straight back out.
Tracy, you had a question that you wanted to follow up on.
Yes, I did. So you gave us some thorough detail on producerpodcast.com, which is a service-based business. And I'm curious, what recommendations or strategies differ from a service-based business to a product-based business, like e-commerce, retail-focused business, or maybe even a specific locally brick-and-mortar type business for their website?
Yeah, so for retailers, for that kind of e-commerce, what you need to do is look at each product and make sure that each product has its keyword set. And people can use all kinds of terms, which is one of the bigger problems with it. For a product could have a dozen names, and you want to make sure that you're trying to cover as many of those as possible without looking too spammy. Because spam's a real big problem. Google does penalize against spam. And you also want to make sure that your images are optimized. So you've got to make sure that they're high quality but low memory, so you don't take too long at loading. And then what you also want to do is get those descriptions sorted. You've only got a short description, 200 words really is what you need. But one of the things that I would say is that for every product you have, get a video of it, because that video is going to help you. And you can have the video again on, like we said before, on YouTube or Vimeo, or you can have it on another service. There are different services where you can host it. And getting those sorted will help you get that product ranking high when people are searching for it.
Well, I just can't say enough great things about your services, and I think that you are excellent at what you do. And from a business owner's perspective, I often tell people when I'm interviewed or someone asks me, what's the one thing you would do differently if you had to do it over again? And my answer now, after working with you, is that I would have invested in SEO way longer. I've been in business with Produce Your Podcast for over 9 years. And I waited until the 8th year to invest in it. I would absolutely invest in SEO from the start. And if anyone else wants to have this great success that I have had, how could they get in touch with you to continue this conversation?
So you can find me on LinkedIn, David Lowbridge on LinkedIn, or you can look on our website, 2feetmarketing.com. That's TWOFEETmarketing.com, and all our contact details are on there.
Well, and if you're not able to write that down and you want to capture that contact information, it is going to be in the show notes for our podcast, the Ask Brien podcast, which is where we take all of these amazing live radio episodes and interviews and capture all of this great information. We repurpose it in a podcast episode so you can go back and listen to this episode and all of the tactical step-by-steps that David brought to you. And that is all going to be available to you wherever you find your favorite podcast. And again, that's the Ask Brien podcast, AskBrien, the podcast. Peter?
Well, thank you very much, Trace. So, Dave, the question a lot of people say is, okay, I'm willing to try this SEO, but how long is it going to take? And there is no answer, right? So what do you tell people when they say, how long is it going to take before I see results?
So the thing with SEO is that it's a long haul tactic, and you can see some results to start with. It will gradually get better, but it can take 12 months before you actually start seeing the kind of results that people expect. But you've got to just keep going with it, because there was a survey done and it took 12 months for the average article to get onto the first page of Google. And that's because it can just take that long. Google's got to start trusting you, and you get a 3-month penalty to start with when you have a new domain, and that can last up to 6 months if you don't do any of the SEO behind it. So you are looking at a long haul thing, a long haul journey, and it could be a little bit expensive to start with, but in the end, the rewards will be justly for you.
Well, I would imagine some highly competitive words, it doesn't really matter how long you go. I mean, if you're going to try to get, a big, huge company like Apple or whatever, you're never going to really get to the top page. I mean, can you get to the top page when you have a highly competitive word?
Oh, yes, you can. And it's all about patience, and it's about hitting the marks which Google wants you to hit. And you can totally take the world by storm. You just have to have that patience and that strategy. And that's where, getting someone with SEO experience can help, because not only can they do the work, but they can also look at the long-term strategy for you to improve your focus, so it happens a little bit quicker, or it happens to start with. Because if you're going to misfire on loads of different ways of doing SEO is not going to have a great approach as if you're focused on a singular path.
So when you have a new client that comes on board, obviously you're looking at their website, checking out the domain, how long it's been, and checking out the SEO that they currently have. And then what do? You come up with a strategy or a plan of how you can make it better over the next 6 months to a year? Is that how you typically work?
Yeah, so every time a new client comes on, the first thing we do before we even start work is that we have a complete review of it. So even before when someone says, oh, can you do it? We do a proposal where we actually look at the website and we go, okay, this is where the website currently is. This is the keywords it's ranking for. This is what the competitors are doing. This is what Google is missing. Oh, this is what the website's missing out for Google. How can we get from this step to it being SEO great, as it were? What steps do we need to do? How many blog posts do we need to publish? What size of these blog posts? What keywords do we need to target for blog posts? What do we need to do to each of the pages? What do we need to do to the page speed? What do we need? And all these kind of things. We put that into a document and we say, this is what we would like to do. And these are the hours. We tend to do it in terms of hours per week that we will spend on the website, and we give people options where you could have this many hours and this is what you get and this is the kind of results, or you could have this amount and this is what you can get extra, and this will do it a little bit faster.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Dave. We really appreciate your time. Unfortunately, the hour is up. You're listening to the Ask Brien radio show on KHTS 1220 and 98.1 FM. Over and out. Till next week.